how this project charter helps a project manager to authorize a project and have a sanctioning authority from a project project owner or a project sponsor who's going to finance the project. Normally, it's a client, so we have a client signature as an approved project charter. Nowadays, there are almost all the organizations, they have this project charter in place. As we might call them with different document name, but still it's a project charter at the end of the day. And that's how we have a look at it. Anybody have any questions on project charter as of now?
No.
Okay, let's look at the next process. It's called develop project management plan. And this project management plan is an initial project management plan. As we mentioned, it starts in normally planning process group. This is the first step in our planning process group. Okay. So in planning process group, my first document is direct. Not this one. Basically, develop project management plan. And this project management plan is an umbrella project management plan. Okay, so here what I try to do, I'm trying to include or take a reference of initial work I did. I'll apply some tools and technique, and then I'll basically have the project management plan updated, created as per the stage of the project, right? So here, let's try to understand what are the inputs. The inputs are project charter, output from other processes if you are already in between the project, enterprise environmental factors. This is the list which normally get updated in case you found out new enterprise environmental factors. The organizational process again same thing applies for the internal organization process assets. Then the tools and techniques we used, the SME, COE, or expert judgment. Whenever I need, I normally ask the organizational pool saying, hey PMO, or hey organization top management, could you lend me an SME for implementing biometric, implementing iris scanner in my project? And the organization might give a couple of hours of a SME or a COE to help me to plan this project better. And that's why the expect judgments are mentioned here. Then data gathering. You are looking at this thing similarly to the project charter, because here the project management plan is purely based on a project charter, right? We just seen these things like data gathering. These are all analyst tools we are seeing here. Brainstorming, checklist, focus group, and interviews. Checklist is an addition here just to make sure you covered all the paragraph within the project charter or the business analyst document, and you have converted those or included in your project management plan. And then if you fall short of any details, or if you see, whenever you go through those, if you find it a bit confusing or short of your thought process, you can just plan these brainstorming, focus group, interviews as per your need. Because you are in a leadership chair as a project manager now. So you have to make your thought process really crystal clear in terms of what needs to be done, what are the resources do I have, and how we're going to basically plan it out. That's why the project management plan is an initial document where we start shaping up our project plan in there. Then, as we've seen in creating project charter, the same interpersonal skill mentioned here. So here also, I need to coordinate with all the other teams, including mine. So I might need to coordinate with the business analysts of the world. I might need to coordinate with the analysts and the designers of the world, the quality control guys of the world, and so on and so forth, to make sure the project is planned as per everybody's buy-in. What do you mean by buy-in? They should feel that the project is theirs. They are an integral part of a project, and that way they can really work with a devotional thought process, so that the output is at a maximum efficiency. And that's what the intention of making sure project manager having capability of conflict management, facilitation to the team members, meeting management, or controlling the meetings in a broader sense, so that we don't waste our important time in meetings or discussions rather except what's necessary. Then of course we need to plan meetings. To set a meeting agenda also we set a meetings, and that's a kind of fun of project management. As a project manager, you normally at least have 3 to 4 meetings per day. You can have a meeting with your team member, that can be a stand-up meeting. You can have a meeting with a vendor where you're procuring the biometric. You can have a meeting with the resource manager where you are requested for a resource and still not given to you, and so on and so forth. Now, from a management perspective, resource is a man, material, machine. Man in the sense human resources, material in the sense whatever raw material you required for your construction building project. Man, material, and machines are basically laptop, desktop, and lathe machines, whatever machines, molding machines, whatever machining required to do the construction and building activities. And then the output is project management plan. In the initial stage, the project management plan can be just few pages, but as the project progresses, we keep adding to the project management plan. Now, this is a live document. What is a live document? Which gets updated on almost a daily basis, which also include the assumptions, the risk, and we'll have a look at the other parts of the project management plan as well. But overall, I'll start basically creating some tasks and allocating it to a resource set with the timelines. Timelines in the sense schedule. So Ravindra has to do the Bloomington iris scan or iris scan biometric scanner fitment by let's say 15th of May. He can have 3 resources to take with him. One is engineer or the guy who is going to fit. Another is a network guy who is basically do the cabling and connect with the server. Third could be a guy who normally have an expertise in biometric configuration or the system configuration or a software development and so on and so forth. So this way we plan, or we basically allocate the task and a schedule to a given team with a leader, which will make sure it's done properly according to policy and process of organizations. That's how we create a project management plan. Does anybody have any questions on a project management plan? We're going to do this, so don't worry. There'll be a hands-on workshop, but just try to understand what needs to be done in project management plan. You got an idea?
Yes.
Okay. Do ask if you have any question, and don't stop yourself from asking questions. Okay. Let's try to have a look at direct and managed project work. Now, whenever I had look at these, table, direct and project managed work is a first process in executing process group. Okay, this is the first knowledge area, and these are the first few processes in executing process group. So here I have actually started constructed building or or actual action item within my project management team. So this process is basically actually kicks off the project in a real sense. It's like I starting work, right? I started to doing actual work on the ground. So let's try to understand what are the inputs, tools, and outputs. Okay. So the inputs are the project management plan, any and all the components. So project management plan is basically the basics for direct and managed project work. This basically tells who is going to do what and when that thing is going to get finished, completed. Let's try to understand the project document. Now here project document can mean multiple document, can mean a single document, can mean something like Microsoft project plan or a Jira project plan or any other tools project plan as well. So don't limit yourself in these labels. Try to understand what it contains. Okay. Now let's understand change log. Okay. Change log is predominantly a list of changes to be incorporated. As we have learned in our Scrum sessions, where we have understood the backlogs, we have understood the to-do list of today, and so on and so forth. And those lists are basically mentioned as a change log. I'll repeat for everybody, whoever might not recall that thing. Change log is a basically list of tasks to be done today, carried forward from yesterday, or get added as an changes to be incorporated in today's task list. These are the list of tasks which are changed from or which are updated from the list which we have assumed earlier. Okay, we'll have a look at Changelog when we actually basically trying to understand how the change project management works. Okay, so let's take a pause here and let's think of Changelog as a list of tasks to be done or to be carried out at that instance. Okay, or approved changes. Then there are lessons learned register. Was the knowledge archival thought process we were understanding, we are trying to achieve. Okay, then there are milestone lists. Milestone list normally talks about the goals to be completed on a given date. Now this milestone list can be, let's try to complete the Bloomington office attendance management enhancement by 15th of May. That's my milestone, right? So on or before 15th of May, I should have that office data shown on cloud server online from anywhere in the earth, anywhere on the earth. So that's the kind of milestone I'm talking about. We're going to plan milestone as per the need. Each task completion is a milestone, right? Each task as simple as creating a project charter as a milestone. So I need to get it completed by, let's say, 4th of May. So by the end of day 4th of May, I need to get the project charter completed. That's my milestone. Now project communications. Here, this strictly means the communication which goes out from a project team towards various influencing factors like the PMOs of the world, the client of the world, the stakeholders of the world, the vendors of the world, where we normally communicate on a daily basis. And this is shouldered on the project manager because he is leading the team. So whatever communication is going out of your project team has to be monitored and controlled by the project manager. We'll have a look at that in project communication management in depth. Okay, but it starts with direct and managed project work, where we are trying to manage the project work with the communication as well. Project schedule is one of the most crucial factors, where normally referred as a time as well. So when you look at triangle of quality, the quality, work, and schedule are mentioned on the three corners. So if anything changes, the other changes. So that's why project schedule is really, really crucial and important. The resources are get attached to the schedule. So schedule is one of the most important factor. First, we create the task, we attach a schedule, we attach a resources, and we'll see where we reach with these three entities, how it can reduce cost to you. So project schedule is actually one of the most important factor whenever you start creating project plan. So whenever you attach a project schedule, the basic intention is direct and manage the project work according to the schedule that is expected out of a project manager. That's why project schedule is mentioned here. Requirements traceability matrix. We had a look at RTM, right? So whenever you attach a task with the schedule, with the resources, the RTM gets updated. Let's think it from a facility perspective. When in requirement, some business analyst have taken a requirement of integrating enhancing attendance management solution with SAP of the state farm, right? So there, that task has been allocated to say a resource named Keshav, and Keshav has to integrate this or pull out the staff data to our system, so that our system also knows how many leaves a typical employee had in the past year, month, and all those things, just to make sure how many leaves are available as on current day. And to make sure this task is assigned to a resources, he might be given, let's say, 3 days. So let's say Keshav has a day from 24th April to 27th April to complete the task for integrating SAP leave data of an employee to our current system. Now there's a task and there could be subtask as well. So the resource Keshav will create a connection statement with the SAP, try to access a specific data for a specific employee first, then get the data in a system, then have those data displayed on your system and verify it against, so that whenever that resource applies for a leave, the table has been verified for if the leaves are available or the leaves are basically unpaid leaves thereafter, right? So that way we normally have a task and a subtask assigned to a resource. Now these tasks normally include the functionality which I mentioned in the SRS or the requirement list, right? And we normally build a complete list, or we normally update the list of requirements with the resource attached, the functionality to be developed, the task and subtask to be developed. So these are basically an RTM we are talking about, requirement traceability matrix. So how the requirements are progressed with a particular task, with a particular subtask, and so on and so forth. There could be a requirement with just one subtask. There could be requirement with multiple tasks and many subtasks as well, depending upon the complexity of a requirement or how you tabled the requirement, how granular were the requirement, and so on and so forth. Then we have a risk register. As I told you, right now just try to have understand risk register as a list of risk. And there are other elements to it. We'll look at those things in detail in risk management knowledge area. Now here they mention approved change request, not the change log. Now here, what do you mean by approved change requests? Normally in software organizations, we do have something called a change control board. In other organizations, you might have a different label to these, change control board. But let's try to understand from a software perspective, and then we'll look at the other ones. Now, this change control board normally have one, at least one, or there could be many as well, senior people who are basically joined together to make sure whatever changes coming from the client are understood, estimated, and then approved, and then given to the project manager to add it to his current list of change, or add it to the change log. Now let's understand this process. Let's say a client project manager comes in our enhancing attendance management solution and tell you to also include the parking arrangement or the parking management for a given building. Now when this request goes, and as a project manager, you normally don't have a time to understand what type of parking, how many offices, what type of cars, what type of trucks, and all those things. So what you do, you normally channel this requirement to the change control board. In many organizations, this is done automatically without the knowledge of even project manager. If any change has been notified, goes to the change control board, and change control, if at all approved, normally give it to the project manager to consider. Otherwise, it's get rejected or it's planned for the next phase, and rejected diplomatically because client is paying for a project, right? So whenever you normally say like, no, we can't do it, you don't say we can't do it. You say we don't have the resources and timeline right now for this requirement. So let's plan it in a next phase or the next to next phase, and so on, so forth. And that's a way of diplomatic communication. We'll have a look at these things in project communication management in depth. Now, these change control board have an authority and a knowledge base of approving change or rejecting changes with the estimation. So these things really do matter for a project. Whenever a task gets updated in your project plan, we have to make sure we will complete with a planned date and time. And that's why with the limited number of resources, it's a crucial balance between the two worlds, the number of limited resources and unlimited change requests on your table. And this is a normal scenario. And that's why project manager's job is pretty much having to accommodate the change request within the team members number of limited hands at your disposal. So we might go to the resource manager and ask for additional resources, and the process continues. And of course, there are enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets. Here, fourth, I normally refer to these as EEFs and OPAs. Okay, So when I say EEFs is a enterprise environmental factors and OPAs are organizational process assets. The tools and techniques, again, I can leverage any expert judgment if I felt a need for. Then I'll also update the project management system. Now PMIS is a body. PMIS is basically a standard system which are included in every organization nowadays, where they keep track of all IT based resources disbursement for a given project and the cost associated. So what they do, if Ravindra is allocated on a project called enhancing attendance management system, they'll make sure a standard cost have been allocated to a project, so that for a given day, how much revenue have you spent accrued depending upon the resource attached to your project. So the more resources, the more hands you have at a disposal, but still the more cost you are incurring. And as you know, every project have a specified budget, right? And normally that is referred as a fixed price project. There are projects called time and material. Time and material in the sense you can add the resources and you can charge it to the client as per the resource gets added. So Ravindra, for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, okay, allocated at so and so rate, charged to the client in the billing period, and so on and so forth. So time and material reduces the risk of a project manager, but whenever you come to a fixed budget, it's like 1 million, you know, to create the complete enhanced attendance management system project, which includes all those things. So here, even the risk or approved change request matter the most, because for each and every approved change request, we might charge the client separately. We might not charge the client separately, depending upon the contract, depending upon the agreements we have done earlier, and we can refer to the project charter or the BRDs and BSDs or the SRS of the world. So PMIS is a system within your organization. Specifically, Infosys have a PMIS, Patni have a PMIS, GuruSchool have a PMIS. PMIS is a project management information system, which normally denotes the resource, cost, and allocation on a single sheet. These resources include man, material, machine. And then we normally have meetings for direct and managed project work. And these can be as simple as the scrum meet or daily scrum meet we have, daily stand-up meet we have, or a project review meet, which we might have on a weekly basis. So all these meetings has to be controlled and managed by the project manager. The outputs are deliverables. Whatever are constructed, created, built, updated are the deliverables to be given to the client or delivered to the client. Work performance data. Each and every resources work performance data are normally calculated in a PMIS as well. So if Ravindra is worked on a 6-hour shift with such and such process, are all the tasks completed as per plan? Yes, no, good, bad. Is the efficiency good? How we can improve efficiency, and all those things are included in the work performance data. And then we have issue logs. In case of any quality control, quality checks have been done, performed, we create an issue log. So what are the work is not incomplete or have some challenges in terms of before delivering to client. So those are mentioned in the issue logs. Change request, again same thing. If clients have given additional change requests, and these can be mostly cosmetic, like this screen should be this shade of green, that shade of red, and so on and so forth. Or it can be a complicated change request, like we discussed, parking management change, parking management system altogether. And all these change requests are normally channeled through the change control board, CCB. That's how we refer. So if any IT person talks about CCB, is change control board. Then of course we update the project management plan as far as all the updates, whatever necessary for a given topics, be it a resource update, be it a schedule update, be it a milestone update. We update the project management plan accordingly. And other project document updates are activity list. So what type of task or activity mentioned against each and every resources for a given day and time. Now, this is what we are talking about, the Microsoft project plan or tool-based project plan, where we have task list, We have a resource assignment and we have a schedule assignments against each and every resource. Then of course the assumption logs, the lessons learned register. Assumption logs is basically if there are new assumptions you are taking, if there are any additional risk you are taking, we'll mention it over here. If you are using any new best practices, you can also release it to the knowledge archival system with the lessons learned register. Any updated requirements, if you have discussions with the client on updation or changes, so we normally update our requirement list, we normally update our RTM, requirement traceability matrix, and we of course update the risk register, we update the stakeholder register. Now stakeholder register is a new entity here. Stakeholder register is a list of stakeholders with their contact number, designation, their best time to call, best time to meet, their authority in terms of authority over the project, his or her overall contribution to the project, and of course as a project manager you can add anything which you feel relevant to add it to the stakeholder list. Normally whenever a project managers get senior, the stakeholder list matters the most, because whenever I'm trying to call somebody or ask some question to somebody, I might to choose who is that somebody, and I normally choose it from a stakeholder register. Let's say if I want to check if biometric or iris scanner is the best suited for a given office, so what I'll do, I'll call somebody who is located in that office, or who has a knowledge of that temperature range or environmental factors, or the environment situation like the cold days, foggy days, and all those things. So I'll call somebody from a stakeholder register. To make sure I call a right person, this register has to be updated whenever there's any parametric change within our project understanding, within our overall project planning, right? And that's why they have mentioned stakeholder register here. We're going to learn about stakeholder register in depth at the knowledge area called stakeholder management. And then we have organizational process update. If we have adopted any best practices from other projects as well, I normally mention it over here so that it's get notified to other projects as well. Like, okay, yeah, these are the best practices for such type of project, and so on and so forth. So this way, I share the best practical knowledge with the others as well. Does anybody have any questions on direct and managed project work?
No.
Okay. Let me do one thing. Let me stop here so that with this slide, we'll revise the direct and managed project work in our next session, and then we'll basically move to the others as well. Okay. Now I'm going slow because this is our first knowledge area, and we have to understand each and every aspects like the change control log, the OPAs and EAFs. So that's why we are going by almost point by point, right? In our next knowledge areas, we might skip through because we have understood these basics. So these basics are really important. Please have a look at these recordings so that you'll understand what are the EEF, OPAs, the CCBs, so that whenever we discuss this thing in our next knowledge area, you are ready to understand what we are talking about. And if you don't, please do ask questions so that we are on the same page. It's not like that, I'm talking the end and you're still, missing what we are talking about, right? So for that matter, I would humbly request you, whenever you have a question, do ask me then and there. Okay, so let's revise this thing in our next session so that we'll understand how this whole integration project management knowledge area helps project manager to integrate the change, integrate the whole project on an initial level, and then keep track of these integration throughout our project executions. Okay, so I believe you understand. Please have a look at this thing. Please start reading chapter 4 in our PM book, and we are at chapter 4.3 right now. Okay, 4.3 is basically direct project work process in the first project knowledge area, rather the fourth chapter, project integration management. Okay, let me take your leave here and let's speak
I
on.
have a question here to
Go ahead,
cut
ma'am.
you
Go
off,
ahead.
sorry. I
Please,
have a
please.
question here. Will you be showing us sample,
Yes, yes.
project
Sample
charters or
example.
anything, and how do we go about with just creating one?
Yes, sure, definitely.
Okay.
We are not going to create any project charter, but you might try. Do you want me to show it right away? Let me,
Yeah, I want to see what they look like, because
sure, sure,
theoretically I've understood, but I want to see what it is.
definitely, definitely. Let me open that document for you. Okay. Go to the. Give me a minute, please. I'm project charter template. I'm going to share a template with you right now so that you'll understand how the project charter is basically or what it includes. Could you see my screen here? The word screen. Yeah. Could you see these things? Hello? Hello?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you can see my screen, right? Yeah. I need a response. Okay. Now, this is a project charter, the name of the project, background, why this project is being undertaken, describe the opportunity or a problem of that project is to address. Okay. So here we now will include the executive summary of a project. In case of enhancing attendance management solution, we normally jot down a paragraph or two here to make sure first business analyst so and so gone and meet the VPHR who normally discuss concern over his manual attendance management system. These were the problem. Then we, as in company, Infosys technical partner suggested these solutions. You can include HLD if you are, basically trying to uh, have those solutions solved with these solutions and these problems, or these problem and these solutions kind of paired.
Sorry, I
Like,
just got logged off suddenly.
hello?
Hello, I got logged off suddenly the moment you started sharing your screen.
No problem. We are just starting, ma'am. I'm on the first line only.
All right,
So
okay.
the background normally includes the executive summary of the why we are doing this project and what are the opportunities or problems in this project, right? That will mention in the background, the executive summary. The goals to be achieved, automate the attendance management solution, 24/7, centralized database, and so on and so forth. The scope of the project. You can cut copy the scope from the BRD, the business requirement document, or the SRS as well. The key stakeholder. This you can copy it from the revision sheet as well. The project milestone. What are the milestone? It has to be completed before Christmas, after Christmas. What are the tasks need to be created before Christmas? What are the phases we have planned after Christmas? We will study the milestone in depth in the couple of days. So just hold on to that. The milestone are basically the goals attached with the date, a schedule, right? The project budget. Nowadays, many project managers don't have budget as in their purview. They just have a standardized cost mechanism, and we'll see how the budget is managed by the financial controllers of the project. Financial controllers are the glorified accountants who keep tab of what are the resources, what is the daily value of each resources, and then they basically gives these details to the project manager on a weekly review basis so that he will understand if you are going above the budget, below the budget, or are we in line with the budgets and all those things. The constraint, assumptions, and risk and dependencies. We talked about these things whenever we are trying to build the project charter, so we can include it here. Now, another part is basically name of the client, name of the sponsor, the sign, signature, designation, and your name and designation as per your project manager, as you are the project manager. I'll share this template with you so you can try creating a project charter for the enhanced attendance management system as well. And we might have a look at it. We might review this thing in our next session. Okay. Project charter is one of the most first document a project manager do create. And believe me, there are quite a few good number of people who are there to help you out, including the SMEs and COEs on, the PMOs of the world. Okay. In mostly whenever you join an organizations, there is a workshop called employee onboarding workshop or employee induction workshop or a consultant induction workshop. There they normally talk about such templates, their position, the access routes or credentials for you as a project manager, and then they'll basically discuss in detail what they expect you to fill in this project charters or template as well. And there's a review mechanism for a first-time project manager as well, so that the project charter is filled as per the organizational policies and procedures. Does that make sense to you? Anything which I missed on these?
No, it makes sense.
Okay, let me share this document. Think it through. Try to create these things, and if you have any queries, we can discuss in our next session. Does that make sense, ma'am? Sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
No problem. If you have any questions, I'm there to help. Please don't think like, we are running or, we are going away. As I told you, we are going to work together for almost 6-7 months. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's stop here. I'll share this document with you, and then try to fill it up with the, the project, what you think through, and then we'll discuss the in-depth. Okay. And we'll move forward on the project knowledge area one by one. Okay, so let me take your leave today. Have a good night, and let's meet day after tomorrow again. That's on 5th of May, right? Yes, 5th of May, 9 p.m. EST. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care.